The ocean breathes. A vast gray lung, inhaling mist from the horizon, exhaling salt across the deck of the Taihō. Her hull cuts the water like a blade forged in desperation, sleek, armored, unyielding. At 29,300 tons, she is Japan's newest prayer, a fleet carrier born of blueprints redrawn in the flicker of blackout lamps. Her flight deck gleams under the first bruise of sunrise, a silver scar on the Pacific's skin. Vice Admiral Jisaburo Ozawa stands at the bridge, gloved hands clasped behind his back. 57 years old, his face is a map of calculated lines, eyes narrowed against the wind, uniform crisp as a folded flag. He is not a man of thunderous commands, but of silences that command obedience. The Taihō hums beneath him, the low thrum of turbines, the distant clang of maintenance crews below decks. Precision, he thinks. That is our edge. Not numbers, but perfection. A junior officer approaches, heels clicking on the grating. He salutes, extends a clipboard. Reports from the yards at Kure. Steel allocations tripled, welders pulling double shifts. The Taihō took 20 months to berth, from keel laid in July 1942 to launch in April 1943. But she is flawless. Armored flight deck 862 feet long. 63 aircraft nested in her belly like eggs in a steel womb. Ozawa scans the figures, nods once. Excellent. Inform the captain. We commission at dawn's end. The Emperor's eyes are upon us. The officer hesitates, a shadow crossing his face. Admiral, the latest from Tokyo. Intelligence on American production. He hands over a sealed envelope, wax stamped with the rising sun. Ozawa breaks it with a thumbnail, unfolds the rice paper sheet. His eyes track the lines. Estimates from submarine sightings, decrypted whispers from the ether. In the time Japan has forged 6 fleet carriers, Shokaku, Zuikaku, Taihō, Unryu, Amagi, Shinano, America has unleashed 17 of her Essex-class behemoths into the waves. 17. Not in years, in months. From keels to christening bottles shattered on prows, Ozawa's fingers tighten on the paper. Impossible. The Taihō alone consumed 20,000 tons of high-grade steel, rationed from the bones of conquered islands. America, how? Torchlight dances like fireflies over the skeletal frame of another carrier, the Unryu. Shipwrights swarm her hull, hundreds of them, shadows etched in sweat and soot. Hammers ring against rivets in a staccato prayer, clang clang, pause clang. Each strike a measure of will. These are master craftsmen, descendants of samurai forges, their hands calloused from generations of blade work, now bent to behemoths. A foreman, face scarred from a 41-yard accident, pauses to wipe grime from his brow. His crew works by lantern, blueprints unrolled on crates, ink smudged by humid fingers. Steel plates hauled by teams of oxen from inland mills arrive in fits and starts, delayed by Allied bombings on rail lines, by the gnawing shortage of coal. We build with what the gods spare us, he mutters to a young apprentice, passing a rivet gun heavy as a rifle. The boy nods, fires it home. Sparks erupt, brief constellations against the dark. By midnight, they've affixed a single bulkhead. Progress, 3 feet forward. The foreman glances at the chronometer strapped to his wrist. Imported, Swiss, a luxury ticking away the hours. Faster, Tokyo demands. The Americans close in. He rallies his men with a shout, voices rising in ragged unison. But the ocean wind carries it away, mocking. Beyond the breakwater, the sea laps at pilings, indifferent to human tempo. Ozawa folds the report, tucks it into his breast pocket. The bridge crew mills in quiet efficiency. A navigator plotting vectors on a chart table, radiomen hunched over dials hissing static. The air smells of oil and ozone, the faint tang of untested paint. Dismissed, Ozawa says to the officer, his voice even as a leveled gun. But alone now, he steps to the rail, gazes east. The horizon is a line drawn in chalk, beyond it, the enemy. 17 carriers. The number coils in his mind like smoke from a funeral pyre. Japan's 6 are titans of tradition, hand-welded seams, decks planed smooth by artisans who measure twice, cut once. The Akagi, rebuilt from a battlecruiser hull in 1938, took 5 years. The Taihō, his command, a mere 20 months, hailed as a miracle. Yet America? Whispers from agents in neutral ports paint pictures of yards that devour steel like dragons. Richmond, California. Newport News. Cranes that lift bow sections whole like gods hoisting mountains. He recalls a briefing in Tokyo, 6 months prior. Maps unrolled across mahogany tables, cigarettes burning low. They're Essex class, 27,100 tons, 100 aircraft each. But the rate, it's unnatural. An intelligence colonel had jabbed a finger at grainy photos. Skeletal frames rising from dry docks, workers in coveralls swarming like ants. Ozawa had leaned in, tracing the lines. Modular. Prefabricated. Words alien to imperial shipbuilding, where each plate was fitted by eye and hand. The sun crests now, gilding the Taihō's island superstructure. A bugle calls from below, commissioning ceremony. Sailors in fresh whites assemble on the flight deck, faces upturned like supplicants. Ozawa straightens, adjusts his cap. Pride swells, unbidden. This ship is his. Her anti-aircraft batteries, 12 3.5-inch guns, gleam. Her catapults, tested in secret trials, hurl mock planes skyward at 70 knots. We are ready. Yet unease gnaws, a splinter under nail. The report's final line. American yards launch 1 every 28 days. 28, the span from new moon to full. In that cycle, Japan completes a dry dock inspection. Ozawa turns from the rail as the first salute booms, cannons cracking the dawn. Echoes roll across the water, fading into the vastness. Smoke curls from incense sticks, mingling with the acrid bite of strategy maps. Admirals cluster around a long table, scale models of carriers bobbing in a shallow basin of ink-blue water. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto, gaunt as a heron, leans on a cane, his body a map of old wounds, his mind a vault of foretold defeats. He is the architect of Pearl Harbor's thunder, but tonight his voice is gravel over glass. Gentlemen, we do not race ships, we race souls. He taps the model of the Taihō, her tiny flag fluttering. Ozawa's command will strike true at Midway's echo. But hear me, America sleeps with one eye open. Their factories, they are not men. They are machines that birth machines. A younger admiral bristles, uniform starched to defiance. Admiral, our yards at Yokosuka produce at triple capacity. Steel from Manchuria flows, we will match them. 6 carriers by 44, each a fortress. Murmurs of agreement ripple. Fists clenched on teacups. Yamamoto's eyes, shadowed, fix on the basin. He dips a finger, stirs the water. Tiny waves lap at the models, threatening to capsize a mock Essex. Triple, their Kaiser yards in Richmond weld a Liberty ship in 5 days. 5. Imagine that tempo turned to carriers. Silence falls, heavy as dropped lid. The clock on the wall ticks, imported German, its pendulum a metronome of borrowed time. Outside, rain patters on shoji screens, a soft Morse. Hurry, hurry, hurry. Yamamoto straightens, pain etching his jaw. I warned them in 41. A sleeping giant. Now it stirs with rivet guns. He waves dismissal, the room emptying like spent cartridges. Alone, he traces the Pacific's curve on the map. From Tokyo to San Francisco, 5,000 miles of blue void. But the real distance? Unmeasurable. The bay fog rolls in like a shroud, but the yards defy it. Floodlights stab the mist, illuminating a colossus in gestation. The USS Essex CV-9, her keel laid just 92 days prior. No lanterns here, no oxen. Cranes, towering electric beasts groan in unison, hoisting 40-ton bow modules from inland factories. Each piece prefabricated, hull sections welded in Kansas, deck plates stamped in Detroit, funnels forged in Pennsylvania. Railroads feed them hourly, boxcars unloading like veins pumping iron. Henry Kaiser watches from a gantry, pipe clenched in teeth, thermos of black coffee steaming. Not an admiral, this man, no stars on his shoulders. A builder. Concrete dams in his youth, highways snaking the Rockies. Now at 60, he orchestrates steel symphonies. Gentlemen, he barks to his foremen, voice cutting the din, we don't build ships, we assemble destinies. That bow section, dock it by 600 or I'll eat my hat. Below, the workforce surges. 90,000 souls, a tide of coveralls and hard hats. Rosie the Riveter isn't myth here. She's every third woman on the line, her rivet gun spitting copper fury. Untrained yesterday, specialists today. Trained in Kaiser's speed schools, where diagrams become muscle memory in 72 hours. A welder, fresh from a Midwest farm, arcs her torch, blue flame kissing plate, fusing seams that will outlast typhoons. Sparks cascade, stars birthing in reverse, lighting faces etched with focus. The rhythm is mechanical, inhuman, hiss, weld, clang, lift. No pauses for perfection. Tolerances measured in inches, not ideals. By breakfast, the Essex's midships module slots home, cranes humming in chorus as if the yard itself breathes. Kaiser glances at his watch, 5:47 a.m. On tempo. Across the slipway, sister ships rise in parallel. Lexington, Bunker Hill. 17 Essexes commissioned by 43's end, each a 41,000-ton Predator, 90-plus aircraft strong. Japan's 6 hand-hewn haikus. America's industrial sonnets printed by the ream. The fog lifts, revealing the bay's sprawl. Assembly lines curving like rivers of steel, workers moving in waves, black, white, women, men. A democracy of labor. A gong sounds, shift change. New crews flood in, fresh as dawn. The old guard files out, lunch pails swinging, chatter rising over the steam whistle's wail. Ozawa, half a world away, feels none of this. But in the Taihō's log, he notes the wind's shift, a subtle veer toward the dateline. They come. His hand steadies on the rail as the commissioning ensign snaps taut. Pride holds, unease deepens. The Taihō plows westward, her wake a white vein in the blue. Ozawa retires to his quarters, the report unfurled under lamplight. 17 carriers, each with pilots trained in stateside fields, fuel from Texas gushers, radar eyes peering through night. Japan's yards strain, 6 ships, yes, but crewed by boys, fueled by whispers of divine wind. He extinguishes the lamp. Darkness falls, broken only by the compass rose glowing faint. Precision will prevail. But in the quiet, the turbine's pulse quickens as if the ship senses the chase. Across the bulkheads, hammers still echo from memory. Clang, clang, pause. Slow. Human. Across the Pacific, the Americans weren't building ships. They were building time itself. The air thickens with the scent of molten iron, sharp, metallic, laced with the brine of nearby inlets. Floodlights carve harsh geometries from the shadows, illuminating the half-formed hull of the Amagi, Japan's 7th carrier in the race against oblivion. She sprawls across the dock like a beached leviathan, 35,000 tons of ambition. A converted cruiser hull, her innards gutted and reborn as hangar bays for 53 Zero fighters. Riveters perch on scaffolds, their pneumatic guns chattering in Morse code urgency. Tap, tap, sustained tap. Each burst drives a cherry-red rivet home, blooming into a scar of strength. A shipwright, mid-40s, broad as a sumo, pauses on his perch. His name is Hiroshi Tanaka, 3rd generation in these yards, his grandfather having forged plates for the Mikasa in 1905. He wipes sweat from his brow with a rag black as coal dust, surveys the crew, 1,200 men, rotating in 12-hour stints, faces gaunt under the glare. We are the spine of the empire, he thinks, flexing fingers raw from torque. Blueprints, pinned to the scaffold with rusted clips, flutter in the cross breeze from exhaust fans. Ink annotations crowd the margins, reinforce amidships. Allied torpedoes noted. Precision is their creed, each seam inspected by lantern, calipers tracing tolerances to a millimeter. Below in the pit, foremen bark orders over the din. Section 4, align the keel straight. No gaps, or she'll leak like a sieve in typhoon season. Teams haul plates via block and tackle, muscles straining against 500-pound slabs pried from dwindling stockpiles in Osaka mills. Steel arrives by coastal barge now, dodging submarine wolf packs. Coal for the forges rationed to embers. Yet pride burns brighter. Tanaka fires another rivet, thwack, and it seats true, a tiny victory. Whispers circulate. The Zuikaku sailed last month, her decks alive with silk-winged vols. We catch them yet. The clock tower chimes too. Imported from London, pre-war relic, its bells muffled by blackout cloth. Shift horn wails, a steam lung rasp. New men shuffle in, conscripts from rural prefectures, hands soft as rice paper. Tanaka mentors one, a boy of 19 named Kenji, showing him the gun's grip. Feel the recoil like a bayonet thrust. Steady now, Japan's fate rides on your arm. Kenji nods, fires wide. The rivet skitters into the drink. Laughter ripples, brief as a spark. We build with pride, Tanaka reflects. Not machines, men. Sunlight filters through bamboo blinds, striping the tatami like tiger claws. The room hums with the low murmur of strategy. Scale models of the Marianas chain arrayed on lacquered tables, pins marking convoy routes. Admiral Isoroku Yamamoto enters last, leaning on his cane. Ebony, carved with cherry blossoms, a gift from the emperor. His uniform hangs loose on a frame whittled by illness. Eyes, though, burn with the clarity of a man who has seen the future and found it unforgiving. He sinks to a cushion, flanked by staff officers in starched whites. Maps dominate the walls. The Pacific, a blue maw swallowing red arrows of advance. Yamamoto's gaze lingers on a cluster east of the dateline. Essex-class sightings, inked from reconnaissance floatplanes. Prophecy is not prediction, gentlemen. It is preparation for the inevitable. His voice, soft as falling snow, silences the room. He unfolds a dossier, pages crisp with fresh type. American output tallies smuggled via diplomatic pouches from Lisbon. Japan's pride, 6 carriers operational by mid-43, the Shokaku-class twins, rebuilt veterans of Coral Sea, the Taihō, Ozawa's armored spearhead, the Unryu sisters, hasty but fierce, each a testament to imperial ingenuity, teardrop bows slicing 33 knots, catapults hurling A6Ms at dawn, yards at Sasebo and Maizuru hum triple shifts, steel bent by hand to diagrams etched in 41. We have the soul of craftsmanship, boasts a memo from the Navy minister. Their mass production lacks our finesse. Yamamoto slides the dossier across. Pages fan, Richmond Yard No. 2, Liberty Freighter No. 352 launched, 10,500 tons, 4 days 15 hours. His finger taps a column, carriers. Essex CV-10 Intrepid commissioned Yorktown Yard, 26 days from Kiel. Seoul, this is not craft, this is calculus. They do not build ships, they replicate them. Modular hulls trucked from the heartland, welded in waves. By December, 17 Essexes prowl our flanks. A staff admiral, florid-faced, leans forward. Captain Kato, architect of the Amagi refit. Admiral, we accelerate. Convert the Ice and Hyuga battleships, flight decks grafted in months. Manchurian ore floods the forges, we've tripled rivet output. Their assembly is crude, plates hammered cold, seams that weep in salt. Our Zuikaku outflies their best by elegance alone. Nods circle the table, teacups raised like toasts, pride swells like a rising sun. Yamamoto's cane wraps the floor. Once, sharp. He rises, limping to the map. Traces a line from Pearl to Midway, 2,400 miles of contested blue. Elegance is a haiku, sirs, beautiful, brief. Their method, an epic, verse upon verse, unending. I flew their skies in 29, Ford plants birthing Model Ts by the hour. Now Kaiser turns that to thunder. Imagine, not 1 yard, but 11. Not craftsmen, but legions, women riveting liberty into steel. He pauses, breath ragged. The giant awakens, not with rage but rhythm. The room shifts, doubt flickering like candle smoke. Kato clears his throat. Then we strike first. Ozawa's mobile fleet, Taihō, Zuikaku, the lot. Carrier duels favor the bold. By 44, our 6 match their dozen in spirit. Yamamoto turns, face shadowed. Spirit bends to steel, and theirs multiplies. He seats again, folding hands. The prophecy hangs unspoken. We race not foes, but the future's forge. Coal dust chokes the horizon, a black pall over puppet state forges. Conveyor belts groan under ingot loads, 2,000 tons daily, siphoned for the yards. Workers in conical hats, Korean and Chinese conscripts, shovel fuel into blast furnaces belching orange fury. Sparks fountain skyward, rivaling the aurora. A Japanese overseer, clipboard in hand, tallies output. Grade A plate, 450 tons, sufficient for Amagi bulkheads. Pride here is imperial, resources bent to the divine will. Trains rumble out, boxcars sealed against saboteurs bound for Yokohama. Each click of wheels a pulse. Catch up, catch up. But delays gnaw. Allied bombers strafe sidings, typhoons swamp ports. A foreman radios, Tokyo, on schedule, Amagi launch by spring. Echoes of Yamamoto's words filter through, replicate. The overseer scoffs, wiping soot. They flood the sea with mediocrity. We hone the blade. Sun hammers the slipways, turning water to hammered silver. The USS Yorktown CV-5, resurrected Phoenix from 42's wounds, slides stern first into the drink, bottle shattering in a champagne arc. Cheers erupt. 15,000 workers, a polyglot roar. But this is rehearsal. The real tempo beats inland. Back in Yokosuka, Tanaka's crew affixes the Amagi's flight deck frame, a 600-foot span planed by Adzin level. Hours bleed into dawn. The boy Kenji sleeps on his feet, rivet gun dangling. Rest, lad, Tanaka murmurs. Tomorrow, we outpace gods. But the wind off the bay carries salt-tinged out, distant thunder of American hulls kissing waves. Alone, Yamamoto pores over intercepted dispatches. Kaiser Permanente Metals, Yard No. 4 launches oiler 72 hours. His hand trembles on the cane. Prophecy fulfilled. He pens a note to Ozawa. Strike swift, but know the tide turns not on wings but wheels. Seals it, rings for a courier. Moonlight shafts the shoji, silvering the ink. The Taihō ghosts through swells, Ozawa at the chart table. A radio man interrupts. Fresh intel, American Task Force 5815 carriers steaming west. Ozawa's jaw sets. Our 6 will suffice. But Yamamoto's words echo, a ghost in the bulkheads. Pride steals him. The illusion holds. In Yokosuka, hammers resume, clang clang pause, riveting the dawn. Tanaka pauses, gazes east. We close the gap. The sea replies with silence, vast as arithmetic. Across the yards, Japan's industrial heart beats with ancient rhythm. Hand to steel, will to wave. 6 carriers rise, each a monument to mastery. Blueprints whisper of parity. Amagi by April, Shinano the Colossus by winter. Manchurian steel flows, welders chant production hymns. We match them, surpass them. Ozawa drills his air groups, Zeros wheeling in flawless Vs. Yamamoto's prophecy? A cautionary haiku, recited but not revered. Yet the illusion frays at edges, a delayed shipment from Singapore, a forge fire quenched by blackout drills. Kato's memos brim with optimism, triple shifts yield double yield. But in quiet moments, foremen tally shadows, American reports multiply like rabbits. 17. The number haunts like a curse. Tanaka, wiping calluses, rallies his crew at sunrise. For the Emperor, for the dawn. Guns chatter, plates kiss true. Pride surges, a tide against the inevitable. We race, and we win. But the Pacific, indifferent. Measures in miles and months. Japan's yards glow with fevered light. Torches etching seams of defiance. 6 ships hand-forged, soul-infused. America? A shadow industry, churning anonymity into armadas. Every hammer strike echoed like defiance and futility. Water roars like 1,000 chained dragons, foaming white over spillways 550 feet high. Concrete pours in rivers, 1,200 cubic yards an hour, hardening into the spine of a nation. Henry Kaiser, 57, strides the catwalk in mud-spattered boots, fedora tilted against the spray. Not an engineer by degree but by decree. Roads across the Mojave, bridges spanning the Columbia. His eyes, sharp as micrometers, scan the forms. Workers swarming like bees, trowels flashing silver. Dams don't hold water, he thinks, tasting the mist. They hold time. A foreman hails him over the gale. Mr. Kaiser, pour rates hit 2,000 yards. We're 3 days ahead. Kaiser grins wolfish, claps the man's shoulder. Ahead? Hell, we're rewriting the calendar. Get those mixers humming. Columbia's not waiting. Below, conveyor belts snake the gorge, dumping aggregate in mechanical heartbeat. Thud, thud, thud. Immigrants from a dozen nations, Irish masons, Italian hod carriers, move as one organism, their sweat the mortar of progress. By 41, the dam's online, 6.8 million horsepower, lighting the Northwest like a struck match. Kaiser's miracle? Not the concrete, the speed, built in 30 months, where experts swore 5 years. War drums beat from Pearl Harbor's ashes, radio crackles with Roosevelt's gravel vow, arsenal of democracy. Kaiser, now gray at the temples, hunches over blueprints in a smoke-filled den. Not ships yet. Liberty freighters, 441-foot workhorses to feed the fight. A Navy suit across the desk, brass heavy, scoffs at the timeline. 4 months per hull? Mr. Kaiser, welders take oaths on that. Kaiser leans back, lights a Chesterfield. Oaths? I build with shifts, modular. Bow in Portland, stern in Tacoma, midships trucked overnight. Railroads don't sleep, neither do we. He unfurls a schematic, hull divided like a butcher's chart, sections prefabbed inland, welded dockside. No rivet symphony, arcs blue hiss, faster, fiercer. The suit blinks. Women? Train 'em in 10 days. Rosie ain't poster, she's payroll. By contracts ink drying, Kaiser's yards sprout. Richmond number 1 through 4, a steel quartet on the bay's edge. Foghorns moan like lost souls as the gates swing wide. 10,000 workers pour in, trucks belching exhaust, bicycles chained in rows. Kaiser atop a water tower, megaphone in hand, surveys the mudflats transformed, slipways carved like veins, cranes erected overnight, 50-foot booms, electric hearts. Steam whistles pierce the mist. Re-ukut. Shift 1 clocks in, lunch pails clanging like bells. Below, the First Liberty SS Jeremiah O'Brien takes skeletal form. Not hand-laid keel. Modules arrive by flat car. 200-ton bow blocks stamped in Fontana steel mills 400 miles south. Cranes whine and counterpoint. Creak lift wump, dropping pieces into jigs, pre-aligned by math, not muscle. A welder, Maria Gonzalez, 22, fresh from cannery lines, sparks her torch. Blue flame licks steel, fusing atoms in seconds. Hiss sizzle seal. Yesterday fruit packer. Today shipwright. Kaiser speed schools, canvas tents ringed by floodlights drill her. Torch hold 15 degrees, arc 200 amps. Diploma, a rivet gun, and a wage. The rhythm builds, welders in banks, 50 abreast, arcs flowering like welding roses. Sparks rain biblical, thousands a minute, veiling faces in firefly glow. Statistic shocks at coffee break, 1 liberty every 42 days. Japan, a destroyer in 6 months. Kaiser's retort, barked over claxons, days not decades. War's a sprint, we're the track. Kaiser prowls the catwalks, thermos swinging, barking tweaks. That flange, shim at half-inch. We're not crafting jewelry, we're arming Avengers. His innovation? Not steel. Systems. Factories think. Conveyor feeds wire to welders' gloves, auto. Cranes sync via radio ping. People adapt. Cross-training turns riveters to pipe fitters overnight. Unskilled, 70% of the yard, housewives' farmers' sons become specialists in weeks. Human gears, Kaiser calls them, oiling the machine. Ozawa's Taihō slices swells under stars pricked like rivet holes. Bridge dim, red lit, charts strewn with ghost tracks. American task forces, phantoms multiplying. A lieutenant reports, Admiral, intercepts confirm, SXCV-14 Roosevelt splashed yesterday, their 17th. Ozawa's gloved hand stills on the plotter, 17. His 6 Taihō sisters feel suddenly solitary, hand-hewn against a horde. He steps to the wing, salt wind whipping. Below deck crews polish catapults, oiled rags whispering over steel. We refine, he thinks. They replicate. Whispers from Tokyo. Conversions frantic. Ice-class battleships hybrid-born. Flight decks grafted in haste. But haste breeds cracks. A Zuikaku trial run lists from rushed welds. Ozawa grips the rail. Precision endures. Sun hammers the ways like a die press. The USS Cabot CVL-28 light carrier Independence class nears completion. 11,000 tons, 33 planes, a scout's sting. But the real thunder brews beside SXCV-16 Lexington, her 890-foot hull, a modular mosaic. Kaiser, sleeves rolled, directs from a jeep bouncing ruts. Flood the ways, now, pumps thrum, water rising like biblical tide. Cranes finalize. Island superstructure, radar mast, guns, hoisted whole from a Spokane fab, slotted like a puzzle key. Welders swarm the joins, hiss arc hiss, sealing fate in blue fire. Statistic hits like a depth charge. From module arrival to launch, 72 hours. Rosy teams cheer as the last seam glows cherry, cooling to black. No ceremonies pomp, a bottle swings from a crane hook, crash, and she's away, stern kissing bay and foam. Kaiser's crew, now 96,000 strong, erupts, horns wail, flags snap, but no pause. Next slip, CV-17, Hornet. Modules inbound, rails clicking, factories breathe, Kaiser notes in his log, pipe smoke curling. Inhale steel, exhale ships. Adaptation scales, black workers from southern rails now crane ops, women helm lathes turning prop shafts at 300 RPM. Speed breaks logic. 1 yard launches 20 Liberties by 43's end, 442 feet, 10 knots, troop haulers born in Fort 5 days. Canvas flaps in bay breeze, lanterns swaying. 500 recruits, mix of Dust Bowl vets, city clerks huddle over mock plates. Instructor, ex-Ford line boss, demos. Arc steady, watch the puddle form. Too hot it burns through, too cold it cracks. Torches flare, shadows puppet dancing. A trainee, young widow named Lila, sparks true, seam gleams unbroken. For my boy, she thinks, and the boys he'll never know. Diploma stamped, shipwright, class 47. Tomorrow the line. Outside trains rumble, clack clack, unloading Kansas bows. The yard's pulse quickens, 24/7 now, lights blazing, blackout defiant. Kaiser visits, nods approval. You're not building hulls, you're building the break, the point where desperation drowns. Contrast bites, Japan's Unryu rises slow, a phoenix hand-fed. Shipwrights 800 strong hoist plates via bamboo scaffolds, ropes creaking under 300 pounds. Tanaka, from Yokosuka days transferred here, directs, ease her down, eye the line. Rivets pop home, thwack thwack, 1 man per join, caliper check thrice. Progress 50 feet of deck per week. Steel rationed, plates thin as whispers from recycled wrecks. A foreman tallies, launch in 9 months. Whispers of American ghosts, 17 carriers, lies. But doubt seeds, a scout planes report, yards like cities, ships birthed monthly. Tanaka steals his grip, we endure with art. Moon silver plates the bay, cranes etched black. The Essex CV-9 nears her christening. Modules fused, funnels rising like chimneys to hell. Welders' arcs paint the night, constellations man-made, falling upward. Kaiser, sleepless sentinel, clocks the tempo. Keel to ready 16 months? No, for the line's vanguard. Now? 8 days from dry to wet, full fit-out in weeks. Floodgates groan open, water surges buoyant, the hull stirs. Creak, groan, lift, sliding sternward in controlled avalanche. Bottle arcs shatter, champagne foaming like victory. Cheers swallow the steam, we did it. But Kaiser's eyes fix ahead, next ways cleared, modules queued. Did, we're just warming. The Essex settles, stable as scripture. Pilots scramble aboard, Hellcat slung below. Statistic seals the awe, 100 aircraft, 37-knot sprint, radar eyes unblinking. Japan's Taihō, 63 planes, armored but alone. Ozawa, worlds away, feels the tides pull. A subtle list in the swells, they multiply. His log notes it, enemy production unnatural. Counter with strike. But the sea, vast mirror, reflects only shadows lengthening. In Richmond, the rhythm accelerates. Inhuman, inexorable. Factories think in blueprints turn thunder. People adapt like water to pipe. Speed, no longer measure, it's the measure. Modular warfare, not invention, inevitability. In 8 days, they built a carrier. Japan still measured progress in years. The Pacific exhales steam from volcanic throats. Guam, Saipan, Tinian. Black sand beaches hissing under surf. Operation Forager, America's steel tide laps at Japan's outer ring. From the horizon, a gray smear resolves. Task Force 58, 15 Essex-class carriers and loose pentagons screened by battleships and cans. 956 aircraft nested, Hellcats, Corsairs, Avengers like hornets in iron hives. Each carrier, 41,000 tons, 33 knots. Radar webs snaring dawn's first light. On the Bunker Hill CV-17 flag bridge, Admiral Mark Mitcher squints through binocs. Wind lashes his khakis. Below, deck crews hustle ordnance. 500-pounders forked to bomb bays. 20mm belts snaking ammo hoists. No urgency's frenzy, rhythms dictate. Launch on schedule, he orders, voice flat as a carrier deck. Catapults twang, thrums snap, jets streak off bows, afterburners painting vapor trails. By 0600, 216 planes airborne, a sky-blackening swarm. Statistic etches the air. 1 Essex equals 3 Japanese carriers in air wing alone. Ozawa's command pulses red under battle lamps. Charts sprawl, Marianas inked red, blue arrows converging like veins to a heart. His fleet, 9 carriers, Taihō, Zuikaku, Shokaku, the Unryu sisters, hybrids Chiyoda, Zuiho, clustered tight, 430 aircraft total. Pride's embers, the Taihō's armored deck, impervious to dive bombers. But shadows lengthen, pilot logs whisper attrition, 40% green, academy rushed, hours logged on trainers, not zeros. A radio man bursts in, headset dangling. Admiral, scouts report, 15 enemy flat-tops, Hellcats swarming. Ozawa's face, lined as old teak, hardens. 15. His 6 core fleet carriers strain under the count. The rest, conversions, liners gutted, tenders flight-decked, fragile as rice paper. Launch all, strike the van, commies wind with us. Alarms wail, wee-oo-wee, pilots scramble from hammocks, faces pale as miso. Below, hangar bays churn, zeros winch to lifts, propellers coughing to life. By Thu 6:30, 73 planes claw skyward, a ragged flock against the blue. The sky fractures. American Hellcats, Grumman ironclad, pounce from 20,000 feet, throttles firewalled, 50 cals stitching lead webs. Japanese Vals and Kates, silk-winged relics, climb desperate, pilots twisting sticks in futile spirals. The Marianas Turkey Shoot ignites, one-sided harvest. The Zero shreds mid-loop, fuel blooming orange, debris rains like confetti on swells. Radios crackle chaos. Bandits, 6 o'clock low cut short by bursts. From Essex cockpits, pilots tally 3 kills, 4 splash. By noon, 240 Japanese planes felled, 20 American losses. Ozawa, tracking blips on his scope, watches green icons wink out. Our best, he thinks, veterans of Santa Cruz, gone in hours. Pilot shortages bite, replacements, boys of 18, solo flights barely 50 hours. Training, cut from 300 to 100, simulators of bamboo and hope. We launched all, the report confirms, all but 29 returned. Weeks prior, the unraveling coils. Shipwrights, down to 600 malnourished shadows, hunch over the Amagi's unfinished frame. Steel rations, halved. Plates scavenged from sunken wrecks, alloyed thin. Hammers falter, clang, pause, clang, workers pausing to cough, rice bowls empty save for fish heads. Foreman Tanaka, ribs sharp under coveralls, tallies the ledger. Bulkheads incomplete, launch delayed, resources collapsed. Manchurian ore, bombed rails choke the flow. Submarines prowl sea lanes, sinking 70% of tankers. A young welder collapses mid-arc, torch guttering blue to black. Up Kenji, the Empire needs your spark. Tanaka hauls him, but the boy wheezes, lungs coal-dusted. Human cost, Tanaka mutters, eyes on the hull's skeletal curve. Blueprints curl at edges, ink faded, redesigns scribbled overnight, flight decks shortened, hangars crammed. Pride? Fractured. The B-29 raid last week glassed the dry dock adjacent, shrapnel carving 3 from the crew. We build slower now, Tanaka thinks, each plate a grave marker. Incense smoke hangs like defeat's veil. Admiral's huddle, fewer now, Yamamoto's chair empty since April's ambush. Maps bleed red, Marianas encircled, carrier icons crossed out. Ozawa's dispatch crackles over wire, fleet intact but air arm gutted. 645 planes lost total. Subchaser sank the courier. Silence stretches, broken by the Navy minister's rasp. Conversions, all hands. Even the Shinano, battleship husked to carrier giant, launcher hasty. A staffer ventures, pilots? We've 1,200 trainees, but fuel 20% rationed, simulators only. Murmurs swell, resource collapse. Oil from Indies fields, 90% blockaded. Avgas brewed from pine roots, yield 10 barrels a day. Human cost mounts, the unspoken toll. 5,000 shipwrights dead in yards to fire raids, families scattered. The minister slams fist. Faster, triple shifts, or the Americans triple us. But clocks tick mockery. Shinano launch in November, from keel to wave, 10 months, rushed welds weeping. The shoot accelerates, inhuman tempo. American decks cycle like metronomes. Planes recovered, refueled, rearmed in 20-minute turns. Essex elevators hum, wine lift clunk. Avengers slung below, bombs racked fresh from magazines holding 1,500 tons each. Hellcats vault bows again, 200 aloft by 1,400, pouncing stragglers. Japanese remnants scatter, Zeros fuel-starved, dropping tanks empty, gliding to splashes. A Kate pilot, Ensign Sato, banks hard, tracers raking his wing. Mother flashes unbidden, the rice fields green. His plane cartwheels, spiraling flame. Below, Taihō zigzags, AA batteries barking futile. 12 5-inch guns, 40mm nests, but range is wrong, fuses short. One torpedo slips through, American sub-albacores fish. 21-inch steel serpent. Boom thud. The Taihō shudders, hangar ablaze, avgas vapors igniting. Crew floods compartments, hoses snaking bilges, but the beast hungers, secondary blasts ripple, steel buckling like foil. Ozawa evacuates to the Zuikaku, but the image lingers, his flagship, armored miracle, listing slow. We raced urgency, he realizes, not efficiency. Pilot logs from the shoot, 90% losses, 400 aviators adrift on rafts, sharks circling. Human cost, not steel but suns, Academy classes 43-44 vaporized in a day. Back in the war room, teletypes clatter, forager success, Saipan secured. Enemy fleet retires, carriers limping. Admirals scatter, orders frantic, convert merchants. Train kamikaze, but the collapse cascades, oil stocks at tent, ships idle at truck, crews drilling dry runs. Pilot pipeline, 200 a month, but losses 400. We unravel thread by thread. The minister whispers to shadows. Taihō settles stern low, bow skyward like a plea. Crew abandons, life rafts dotting swells, voices calling in dusk. Ozawa, aboard Zuikaku, watches through glasses. His command, 29,300 tons, slips under in 15 minutes, vapors detonating the armored deck like paper. Not battle, he notes in log, but the absence of tomorrow. Subchasers pluck 500 survivors, the rest, 1,000 souls, feed currents. American task force steams west, undented, 15 carriers intact, decks prepping night strikes. Mitcher risks it, launches at 16:45, planes groping black. By moonset, 50 more kills, Japanese cruisers lit like lanterns. The shoot tallies, 645 planes, 3 carriers sunk, Taihō, Shokaku, Hio. American toll, 123 aircraft, mostly to fuel exhaustion. Pilots debrief over coffee black as bilge, aces with 6 kills, faces smudged calm. Like shootin' fish, one drawls, Texas twang. Their boys green as grass, no bounce. Laughter ripples, but a lieutenant quiets. Human cost on both, he thinks, but ours replenished. Mess stewards clear plates, rosy kin from yards now afloat. Tomorrow, more launches, modules waiting stateside. Japan's remnants nurse wounds, Zuikaku dry-docked, prop bent. Unryu sisters half-crude, pilots ghosts. Tanaka, reassigned to repairs, sparks a hull patch. Arc hiss, but the flame gutters on bad wire. Steady, he tells Kenji, the boy thinner now. Resources evaporate. Steel from raised homes, fuel from sake vats fermented wrong. We fight with echoes, Tanaka reflects, hammer falling slower. Across the dateline, Richmond whistles steam. Shift 2 clocks in. Ticonderoga trials, 100 planes wheeled, catapults tested. Statistic, 19 Essexes by fall, 2,000 aircraft monthly. The tempo difference yawns. Japan's yards, silent pauses between strikes. America's ceaseless weld song, erasing deficits in arcs. The unraveling peaks, Leyte looms but fleets hobble, pilotless, fuel dry. Kamikaze whispers rise, desperation's calculus. Ozawa plots from Zuikaku's bridge, maps curling. Efficiencies cost, not ships, but the men who dreamed them. Below, a lone Zero taxis, last of the wing prop wash stirring salt. Even death began to feel mass-produced. The Taihō yields to the deep. Her bow rears once, a final salute. 29,300 tons of armored defiance, flight decks scarred black from within, before the sea reclaims her in a gasp of bubbles and oil. Swells lap the wound, indifferent, carrying debris in slow gyres. Cork life vests, singed flight logs, a captain's cap bobbing like a drowned flag. Silence descends, vast as the void, broken only by the distant thrum of American screws, fading east. No bugle for her passing, just the ocean's hush, swallowing 1,501 souls in 15 minutes flat. Vice Admiral Jisaburo Ozawa stands rigid on the Zuikaku's bridge, glasses pressed to eyes, the lens fogged with salt and breath. 58 now, his frame seems carved thinner by the light's bleed, uniform sodden, gold braid dull. The fleet limps south, Zuikaku, Chiyoda, survivors of the shoot, their decks empty as gutted fish. 645 planes lost, 3 carriers to the tally, Taihō, Shokaku, Hio, in 24 hours of sky slaughter. Signal Tokyo, he orders, voice a wire drawn taut. Fleet retires intact, air strength, negligible. The radio man nods, fingers trembling on keys, Morse pulses out, dot-dash-long, a requiem in code. Ozawa turns from the rail, the seas whisper mocking. Erased hands against hammers. Yamamoto's ghost stirs in memory, April 18th, Bougainville skies, the prophet felled by 4 Hellcats, 1650 cal rounds to the bridge. Efficiency's blade, Yamamoto had written in his last dispatch, cuts before the sword clears sheath. Ozawa's hand finds the logbook, pen scratching final entry. Marianas, not defeat of arms, but arithmetic. The irony coils. Japan's 6 carriers, hand-forged icons, scattered like cherry petals. America's 17 SXs, unscathed sentinels, steaming toward tomorrow's dawn. Steam whistles pierce the fog, a siren's call to 98,000 souls. The bay gleams leaden under overcast, but the yards defy. Cranes hum in polyphonic drone, wine lift clunk wine, hoisting the USS Randolph CV-15 stern module from Tacoma rails. Henry Kaiser, thermos in fist, paces the gantry. 61, face weathered as canyon rock, eyes on the tempo. Bow section, dock her now. We're not launching history, we're loading it. Foreman bark echoes, whistles shrill, the workforce surges, rosies and arcs blue nimbus, sparks cascading like inverted aurora, 2,000 feet of seam fused before breakfast. No pause for the news. Philippine sea cables hum with victory. Task Force 58, 0 losses to enemy action. Welders shear ragged over grinders whine, but Kaiser's gaze fixes the horizon. Next slip prepped, Franklin CV-13's island superstructure inbound from Philly, radar arrays folded like steel origami. Statistic whispers divine, 20 SXs by September, 2,500 aircraft cradled, Hellcats at 37,000 feet, Avengers dropping 8,000 pounders. Japan's yards? Echoes now, Kure's torches dimmed by B-29 shadows, output halved to whispers. The rhythm accelerates, modules slot home, thud seal lift tolerances shaved to a 35th inch by jig and math. A welder, Ezekiel Hayes from Fontana days, arcs a bulkhead join, flames hiss sealing fates unborn. One spark, one sortie, he mutters, sweat tracing coal scars. Below, Rosie's rivet deck plates, thwack-thwack, copper blooming in disciplined bursts, 1,800 per hour. Training schools churn, 1,000 grads weekly, from farm girls to flyboys, diagrams etched to instinct. Kaiser clocks it, launch in 96 hours. The yard breathes, inhale steel from Gary, exhale thunder to the tide. Japan's remnants rot in turquoise shallows. Zuikaku lashed to buoys, her hull pocked from near misses, deck a graveyard of crated zeros, props warped, cowlings dented by mallet prayers. Ground crews, 400 left, faces gaunt as kabuki masks, crawl over repairs, hand-filed patches, rivets driven by elbow grease alone. Tanaka, the shipwright, kneels amidships, calipers tracing a seam webbed brown with rust. Tighten her. Allied eyes circle closer. His apprentice Kenji, now 19 and hollow-cheeked, hammers slow, clang, pause, clang. Each strike a dirge, muscles atrophied by 800-calorie rations. Resources? Ghosts, steel from raised factories, avgas distilled from bamboo sap, yield 5 gallons per plane, enough for taxi, not takeoff. Pilots drill on sandbars, sticks mimicking controls, sweat pooling in foxholes. Human slowness, Tanaka thinks, wiping a brow slick as oil. A scout subs report crackles Lake Gulf, 20 American carriers massing. Ozawa, relocated to Tokyo's maps, paces war rooms emptied of hope. Convert all, merchants, oilers, commie demands sacrifice. But the tempo yawns. Shinano, the Colossus, launches November, 65,000 tons. Rushed welds cracking under trials, only to sink days later. Sub-Archer fishes 6 fish, ending her before first flight. Thunder rolls inverted. American carriers 23 strong now, 17 SXs, sisters orbiting like moons, eject 1,000 planes into the black. Hellcats prowl at 300 knots, radar ghosts, TBFs loose torpedoes and silver arcs. Japan's desperate thrust. Ozawa's center force, 4 carriers including Zuikaku, crumbles under the weight. 200 aircraft launched, 150 splashed in minutes. The Zuikaku takes 3 bombs, Hangar Inferno blooming yellow. She lists abandons at 0200, 1,258 crew to the swells. Ozawa flag transferred again, watches from a cruiser bridge, waves lapping bloodied water. 6-0, the irony bites. We built with prayer, they with process. The Gulf churns, Gambier Bay American escort carrier, screens the van. 11,000 tons, 28 planes, torpedoed and shelled to ruin by Yamato's 18-inch guns. But the Essex horde avenges. Princeton CVL-23 burns from a Judy bomb, yet her sisters cycle, recover, rearm, relaunch in 45-minute loops. Statistic carves the night. Airstrikes, 1,800 sorties, 500 enemies sunk or crippled. Japan's pilots, kamikaze seeds now, special attack units, 2,500 volunteers by year's end, crashing into steel tides. Desperation's tempo, Ozawa logs, measured in lives, not launches. The tide peaks, 1,300 kamikazes flung at 20 American carriers. Enterprise, Essex veteran, shrugs off 20 hits, her 40mm batteries a lead storm. Losses, 10 U.S. ships sunk, 300 planes. Japan, 1,900 aircraft, all. Ozawa, in shadows, pens resignation, accepted silent. The myth dies, he reflects. Urgency was illusion. Infrastructure, God. Across the Pacific, yards roar unabated. Boxer CB-21 christened, bottle shattering at 600. By noon, her sister welds rise. Cranes hum prophecy, wine clunk hiss, steam whistling dawn's edge. Rosy arcs eternal, sparks stars in reverse. Kaiser retires the thermos. We didn't win the war, we outran it. Statistic seals, by VJ Day 141 carriers commissioned, 17 Essexes the spear, but the horde the heart. Surrender decks the Missouri, brass and silk, pens scratching peace. Ozawa among the signatories gazes at the Essex screen. San Jacinto Hornet, hulls gleaming, crews in whites like new snow. 6 prayers, he thinks, against 141 processes. The irony haunts. Japan raced the clock, America reset it. Blueprints, once thunder, now ash and bunkers. Yards silent, hammers stilled, sparks quenched. Whistles wail finale, oop, but gates stay open. Kaiser addresses the line. War's end, just halftime. These hands built the peace. Workers disperse slow, lunch pails swinging, rosies to homes, haze to rails. The last Essex Oriskany modules stacked like cordwood. Statistic lingers. Post-war, yards birth tankers, 10 a month. The rhythm endures. Cranes idle, but hum faint waiting. The Pacific, vast mirror, reflects the shift. From steel wars to silicon dawns. Japan's handcraft, revered relic. America's infrastructure, the new empire. Invisible architect of eras. Ozawa, post-war, wanders Kure's ghosts, rusted pilings, weeds, and dry docks. We measured in strikes, they in shifts. A breeze off the bay carries salt and silence. The final irony, speed wasn't weapon, it was witness. Japan built 6 carriers, America built 17 before lunch, and the modern world before dinner. If you believe history's real victories are engineered, not imagined, subscribe for more untold World War II brilliance.